Kaplan. I'm the director of the Premier Partner Program here at Exit, handling the ancillary relations. And thank you all for taking some time to join us this morning. Really excited to have this conversation with Craig and with Chad about All the Leads, our newest Premier Partner here at Exit Realty. They're going to dive into the full details of what they do. But in short, if you're looking to take your business to the next level and differentiate yourself, I think you're going to find this conversation extremely interesting. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce a man who needs no introduction, the man, the myth, the legend, the president of the U.S. division here at Exit Realty himself, Craig Witt. And thank you again for joining us. Looking forward to hearing all of the great stuff here this morning.
Thanks, Seth. The man, the myth, the legend. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little late getting on this morning. I had some difficulties here logging in with the information that I got, but I'm on now. And I just want to say welcome to everybody that registered and that's on this webinar. We're going to start right away here. I just wanted to share 1 minute about Chad. I met him at NAR this year, last November. He was sharing with me what he does and the system that he's developed. And I was just really, really impressed with not just the service that he can provide to help all of you, but also, you know, when we run across people in our company that are what I call exit material, they think like us, they act like us, they appreciate the model and the challenges that we face in Exit Realty, and he absolutely loves our company, and those are the people that we want to affiliate with. So our new marketplace program and the vendors that Seth is putting together, everyone that's on there is being vetted very, very strongly to make sure that we provide only the best to you. So without further ado, I want to introduce everybody to Chad Corbett. Chad's with All the Leads, and Chad, I really appreciate you sharing this with us today, and take it away.
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, guys, I can't believe how many people showed up early. I really appreciate that, and sorry we had a late start, but we'll try to keep this concise. I will have a Q&A at the end, so if you look in your GoToWebinar panel, you can type in questions, and I will try not to keep an eye on that and be distracted during the presentation, but I do have a slide at the end that we can handle questions for anybody that have those. My name is Chad Corbett. I'm one of 4 partners and co-founders of All the Leads, and I've been in real estate since 2005, built my career with a resort developer in whole ownership ski and beachfront, and in 2012 was fortunate enough to hit my employment ceiling and become an entrepreneur after taking about a year off. And I landed in a city in Virginia where I knew nobody and had never really tried to sell residential real estate. And I quickly realized that I didn't like begging for business and what everybody else was doing. I didn't have a sphere of influence. And appreciating blue ocean strategies as much as I do, I tried to look in my market and see where there was a true need that I could simply fill and attract business. And I met some great partners that we were working on some other projects and that have an investment and brokerage background. And we kind of thought, well, what if we could take this little model and scale it and teach agents across the country to provide value in a different way? And that's really where this company was born. And I'll talk a little more at the end about some of the future offerings we're going to have. Probate right now is our cornerstone product. It's the first offering that we've brought out because we didn't feel like anybody has ever properly served this niche. So what we're going to cover today is kind of some basics of, you know, what exactly is probate. I know a lot of people have heard it from a stage, or it's kind of becoming a buzzword. So we're going to look at what the actual probate process is, some pretty interesting statistics behind it that will help show you what the opportunity is for you in this niche if you aren't real familiar with probate. I'll go through the process of how the leads are gathered. Anyone can do this. It's public information. And then we'll share what we've learned about marketing best practices, the value of building a team of people around you, and then the proven system that we have to automate most of the marketing side of this. And then, as I said, we'll have some time for a Q&A. And please, guys, I've never heard a bad question. We do calls with our members every single week. So don't be hesitant to ask if you have a question. Please step up. So first, a lot of folks don't really understand what probate is, and probate is simply the legal process of settling out an estate. Filing for filing probate is the first step in the process. That typically is going to happen at a county clerk's office, and a lot of folks think, it's just about distributing assets. It's actually more about settling liabilities and making sure the government and creditors are paid, and then distributing assets. Most estates will be probated. There are limits in certain states that have what's called a, quote, small estate exemption. Those numbers are different across the board. I'm going to speak in generalities because there are over 3,000 counties just in the U.S., and most have a unique process. But about 95% of estates will be probated. Most of the 5% that are not probated are set up in a living trust, and about 5% of the U.S. have either a revocable or irrevocable living trust. And most states are going to use probate attorneys to help the families through the process. Virginia is one of those exceptions. It's not typical here, but in most states you're going to see attorneys helping the families. It's not required by law, but it is common practice in most areas. So why is this an opportunity for us as real estate professionals? And it helps to kind of look at the numbers. So in the baby boomer period, there were nearly 80 million deaths, 80 million births. And just in 1999, those people started entering the end of life cycle. And it's kind of a dark statistic, but it's a truth that we're all going to have to face. And it's something we've really never seen before in our population and in our careers. This is kind of a staggering number. It's hard to fathom, but the baby boomers do control the vast majority of wealth in the United States, and this transfer of wealth will be upwards of $136 trillion over the next 4 decades. So just a massive amount of assets will go from one generation to the next here. In 2014, the average inheritance in the United States was just under $177,000. So that's an average number. Obviously there's going to be states that don't have that much, but consider what this number is bringing in: life insurance, stock portfolios, real estate, everything that somebody had. And even if they don't own real estate at the time of death, there's a good chance the family's inheriting a large sum of money. And usually when that happens, there's a large motivation to spend money. Currently, the baby boomers do control 70% of the net worth in the United States, and statistically, about 80% of that is going to be held in real estate. So in order to settle out liabilities and settle estates, typically the family, the heirs, are going to sell. It's hard to track across the nation. My best guess is about 90% of the estates that include real estate will sell in the first 12 months. With the vast majority selling in the first 6 months. As I said before, I really wasn't very good at FSBO and expired and begging for business. It just didn't fit my core values as a person. The great part about probate and why it's such a great opportunity for early adopters is there's very little competition. Pretty much your only competition is going to be from real estate investors, not other agents. And if it is from other agents, it's usually because the personal representative is within their sphere of influence, not that they're specializing in probate. So it's pretty easy to differentiate yourself just by adding more value than anyone else can. These families, and especially the personal representative, are people who want and need professional help. They're not somebody who listed their house and gets 95 surprise phone calls at 7 a.m. the next day. From real estate agents saying they can do a better job. So these are people who typically are overwhelmed. They've got their life and everything that comes with it coming at full speed, and they've just been handed the life of somebody else and said, here, please ethically and efficiently unravel this and make sure everything's done how it should be. So there's typically a really strong motivation to get this settled, and typically selling the home is the biggest piece of that in order to settle out the other debts. And I think, the biggest key here is if you can understand their problems, understand who your ideal client is and what their problems are, and just be that solution. And I put a tip here at the bottom. The people that I see that have been most successful, and I've trained hundreds of agents across the country over the last couple of years since we started this, and the people who I see that are most successful are the ones that kind of take the advice I've learned, I give from my own learning experiences. Focus on people first, and you've got the rest of your career to talk about the real estate that they do or do not own. If you can learn to just really have a a servant's heart and focus on the people and the situation, you'll be the only realtor in the world as far as they're concerned. And a lot of folks, the ones that stumble, go right into this like like, let's talk about the house. Let me get in there and find out about your real estate. So there's a huge opportunity for if you just kind of change what you normally do a couple of degrees, and instead of focusing on real estate, focus more on the people and the situation, and being kind of a solution engineer for people in a really stressful situation. This is probably the easiest listing business you'll ever have. There's opportunity also beyond buying. As I said, that the average inheritance was just under 177,000 in 2014, and not every person who passes away will include real estate. We do give you every probate case for the last 30 days. However, some people are going to sell in order to go into long-term care. Some people will transfer to family members before death. There's a million variables. But what you need to remember is that the person who shows up as the personal representative is going to still be in a stressful situation, and they're probably inheriting a large amount of money that you can help them reinvest. So it starts with asking good questions, and what are they going to do with that inheritance money? Maybe they're going to list their primary residence now and upgrade homes. Maybe they'll buy a vacation home. Maybe starting a rental portfolio might be a wise move for them. So it's really about being an advisor, asking good questions, and like I said before, focusing on the people and how you can help those people in that situation. And you can tie that back to real estate. So as far as how the probate leads are gathered, it's quite a painful process. I think I made it twice before I gave up. So typically in most courthouses across the country, it's a physical gathering process, and typically you're not allowed to have an electronic device. In my area, it's unless you're a member of the bar, you can't have an electronic device. So you need to go to the clerk's office. There's a couple of sets of records that you need to pull, and you'll pull those usually writing in pen and paper. And you want to make sure you have the deceased name, the executor mailing address, the attorney name. And in total, there's around 60 columns of data that we give you and the data that we pull. So we pull everything that's on the public record. In addition to that, I'll tell you later everything that we do, but to properly market to this list, if you were to do it on your own, you would pull that into a spreadsheet. So it's in a format where you can manage it, and then skip trace each one to find phone numbers, email addresses, contact information. So you'll have more than one way to reach them, and then somehow systemize this to do it each month. I'm a systems guy, and I didn't have the tenacity to systemize this. I said there's got to be a better way. So I don't really encourage anybody to do this on their own, because for such a small fee you can have somebody go do this for you and you can do what you're really good at. But that is how the process works, and kind of why this is such an untapped niche with no competition, because it's pretty painful for us as agents to go out and do that kind of research on our own. A couple of resources to learn more about probate, and we're kind of go macro to micro here. If you Google probate court in your county, if you're lucky, you'll be in a county where they publish everything about the probate process. Some of us will find that there'll be one single web page, maybe with the clerk's name and a phone number. Try to see what you can find there. We have pulled together a really, really thorough glossary of generic probate information. And as I said, there are 3,143 counties in the United States and 4 different court jurisdictions that handle the probate process. So we try not to, there's no way possible we could publish all the specifics on all those counties. However, we did pull together kind of this general glossary of terms and probate FAQs. So if you have an opportunity, you can visit alltheleads.com, look under FAQs and then probate FAQ. And this is a good place to kind of lay down a base of knowledge. Personally, what I did once I decided this was a niche that was going to last for me is I went to Starbucks and got a bunch of coffee, and then I went to the courthouse and handed out coffee and smiles and sat with the probate clerk. And I simply, I said, listen, I'm talking to more and more families in this situation, and frankly, I don't feel comfortable with my own knowledge level. Please walk me through this from A to Z. And you don't necessarily have to go that far. A phone call will usually suffice. I've coached people through this and done it for them, and typically in 15 to 20 minutes, I can take one of our newer subscribers, get on the line with the courthouse, and they can feel really comfortable with their local process. So it's, if you don't have the time or ambition to drive to the courthouse, it's not something you have to do. But the bottom line is the more knowledgeable you are, the higher level of service you'll be able to provide to your clients. So, chances are they've never done this before. And when you can show them that not only are you a top-notch real estate professional, but you also understand how to navigate the probate process and all the stress that they're currently experiencing, that's really going to differentiate you from any competition, whether it's investors or real estate agents. So who do we market to in probate? The personal representative that's kind of the generic name that we use. It can also be an executor or an administrator, depending on the relationship to the deceased. So that's your primary contact. That's the person that is in charge of settling everything. So that's who you want to focus on first. But we also give you the information for the probate attorneys, and marketing the probate attorneys is a really good long-term strategy to build a referral network. And what we find is attorneys, it's not the easiest thing to do to get your foot in the door with probate attorneys because they don't have the highest opinion of real estate agents. But once they realize that you have a system and a team of people specifically focusing on their clients and that you're protecting their best interest, they tend to latch on to our agents and really, hold them close. And some of our folks are even testifying in court now as experts, and they're getting divorce listings just because they did such a good job with the probate case. So attorneys is a great secondary marketing channel. And then sphere of influence. I mean, if the unfortunate truth is we all know people who are going to pass away. It's going to happen this year and next year and the following. So the more people in your SOI that really understand that you're kind of a transition specialist, and when something like this happens, when somebody needs to transition into long-term care or somebody passes away and a family needs to settle on the estate, that you have a business model and a team of people to take most of the stress out of that situation for those families. Nursing homes and retirement communities are a really good place to also build that referral network. So, with the baby boomers aging, the first step of this is that many of them, so there's a statistic, 87% of seniors plan to stay in their home forever. But with the nursing home industry being one of the fastest growing in the country, it's pretty obvious that not everybody gets to stay at home. So a lot of folks who think they're going to stay there forever, who don't have a plan, and then all of a sudden this happens, they need to make money available or make assets disappear so they can get long-term care paid for. And the people at the nursing home, the program coordinators, the marketing directors, whoever that primary point of contact is at the nursing home, that looks at their finances and tries to put together the strategy for them to get into long-term care. If they can really understand that there's a real estate agent in town that specializes in helping families, you've got your senior moving service and a lot of the other pieces that we're going to talk about here in a couple of slides. Once they understand what you do, they can feed you a steady line of referrals as they meet those families. They can recommend your services. Family law attorneys and estate planning attorneys are also really good for building a referral network, so you can market to these folks. And I will say that the last four are really best marketed to in an organic way. So if you can, most of our folks who have had great success building referral networks, it's been through face-to-face meetings. And, you know, who do you know that I can provide value to? And you show up, help them understand how you represent their client's best interest and can make their life easier. And you can build some pretty impressive referral lines through these last four ideas here. So marketing best practices and focusing mainly on the personal representative, we recommend a combination of direct mail and phone calls. And then with the referral sources, we talked about networking. So with direct mail, what we find is kind of the best minimum approach is 3 really unique letters. We send these letters in a greeting card envelope with a live first-class stamp and a handwritten envelope. This is mail that gets opened and sticks around. And I've had several listings that were literally come list me calls, and they had gotten the letter 2 years prior. And they just finally got to that point where they were ready to do something, and they had saved that greeting card. So it's a very specific mail piece. We send 3 letters spaced 30 days apart, so we're marketing for 90 days. And it is worth mentioning, so the typical probate filing, and it's not a rule or anything, it's just a pattern that we recognize from the date of death until the date of probate filing is typically about 60 days across the country. So what that means is, you know, it's taking the families about 2 months to kind of process the emotions attached to this, and then they're going to the courthouse and kind of raising their hand and saying, okay, world, we're ready to deal with this. So for any of you that might have that little voice in the back of your head saying, oh my gosh, someone's going to call me an ambulance chaser. The reality is the family they've gone through at least some of the grieving process, and now they're ready to deal with this. They know that it's something that has to be done. So the probate filing is the initiation of that kind of the business side of settling an estate. So that's when they're going to see the direct mail from us or hear a phone call from us. We try to follow each letter with a phone call, and I've found that greatly warms up your conversation. So, hi, this is Chad. I sent you a letter last week. Just wanted to make sure you got it and you understood why we sent it. Is this a good time to talk? And it kind of gives you a reason to place that phone call. And there's a lot of stuff that we offer in our training that will help you with that initial conversation. And then lastly, you know, networking, and this is more for the attorneys, nursing homes, you know, the referral partners that I had mentioned before. Introduce yourself as the transition expert in your community to everybody that you possibly can that works with this demographic. So we'll talk a little bit about partners. And in the beginning, I said that, you know, we would show you the value of building a team, and this is where I really saw the potential in this. I helped a lady her mother had gotten a letter from me. I think I pulled a high equity list that hadn't transferred for at least 10 years and sent. And her mom called me to tell me that she would never sell her house. She would die there. And I thanked her for the call and took her off my mailing list. And 2 months later, I got a call from her daughter in a panic. She was out of town. She was here for one afternoon. The house had actually been on the market for 12 months and no offers, no showings, and it had all the personal property in it, and it just wasn't properly handled. Long story short, I met with her, gave her 4 options. She chose one of the options. I put it into action. Within 4 or 5 days, we had the home on the market, and we had 4 offers, and we ended up netting her $25,000 more than her expired listing. And to me, a light went off. And in order for me to do that, I brought in contractors, estate sale companies, a clean out crew. I was the cash buyer, one of the options that I offered her. So the reason I tell that story is so you can kind of think about how you can use each of these people to really, you know, be that transaction engineer, the solution engineer. So cash buyers, if you don't already work with cash buyers, we will teach you how to find those. It's actually way easier than you think. You can have a half a dozen fully vetted and qualified cash buyers by Friday if you really wanted to. Estate sale company is a great partner to have. They can really bring the comfort level up with your probate clients, because the personal property in the home is usually one of the largest emotional hurdles. But it's also a pretty big physical challenge too for most families, especially the ones that are out of town. Contractors can do things from small repairs, getting homes ready for the market, all the way to completely renovating these homes. So they're great partners. A clean-out crew to come through behind, the estate sale company and trash anything that's not valuable. Great title companies that have experience with the probate process can bring a lot of value to service after the contract. And from more of a transition standpoint, a senior moving company can help people before a death occurs, or if you have a surviving spouse that has to sell the home for to downsize or to move into long-term care. Senior moving companies, financial advisors can help reinvest the proceeds from the sale, or even in the instance of a surviving spouse who didn't have a proper estate plan, a good financial advisor or family law attorney can put together a plan that will help make sure that when that surviving spouse goes, the children don't have to probate the estate. And probate attorneys can also really help you through the process when you hit a roadblock or have questions. The probate attorneys can be a great resource. So I'm rushing through these in the interest of time, guys. This is all expanded on in all of our training that we provide as part of the benefits to our members. But I do want to mention that you don't have to have all of these people today. And I see a lot of folks get overwhelmed because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any of those people. It's not, and what I always challenge people, if you had 3 listings sitting on your desk today and you had to have each of these team members, I bet you would have them before the sunset to get those 3 listings uploaded in MLS. So it's not that hard to do when the motivation's there, and we'll teach you how to do each of these things and make this really simple. Rarely will you ever use everybody on one transaction. It's more about appearing as a professional and as a vertically integrated, service that these families can rely on, and that's very comforting to them. And so I encourage everybody to think about who else can bring value to this situation. This is by no means an inclusive list. There are tons of people who can, in your community, that can bring value to this situation. So just think about, if you think outside of the box, who do I know that could also help bring value to these families? So this brings us to our probate system. So I'll run through kind of quickly what it is we do. We are a leads company. I think that that accounts for about 10% of what we do, and 90% of what we do is the service and training and system that we provide. So we are going to give you all the probate leads from your county delivered in a custom CRM every 30 days. So we have researchers go out, they come in, they database it. We do what we do with the data, which I'll explain later, and we push it directly into a CRM, so you get an email saying, hey, your probate leads are ready to call. We're going to give you contact information for the personal representative and the attorney. We're going to give you at least one phone number for the attorney, which is usually on public data. More importantly, we're going to give you up to 5 phone numbers for the personal representative, which is not on public data. So that's a huge advantage, and we find that especially in the super competitive markets, the agents that have done really, really well with us are the ones that are sending the letter and following up with a phone call. Because even if investors and other realtors are getting the data from the courthouse and sending mail, very few, if any, are making phone calls. And we have one young agent in Manhattan who has, in his first round of phone calls, mail wasn't working too well for him. And in his first round of phone calls, he listed almost $4 million worth of listings in a couple of days. And what he found is the folks he was talking to were getting dozens of letters, but he was the only person calling. So the phone numbers are a huge advantage. It's all included with, most of this is all included in your subscription. and we'll get to pricing later. We have now over 100 hours of professional training. That's archived. Everything we do is recorded, whether it's video or audio or any print that we do is posted. We have, I'm not sure the count, probably close to a dozen proven letter templates that have worked in all types of markets across the United States. We can completely automate your direct mail services. We do all that in-house, very high quality printers, sending the piece that I explained earlier, the greeting card envelope with live stamps. We do offer a custom probate credibility website. So similar to the probate FAQ, we have gathered a ton of information about the probate process and built that into a WordPress site. It can be fully customized to match your core website, and we can even link those together so that there's kind of a seamless interface for the customer. I do offer advanced training. Most of the training that we offer, we have what's called fast track training, and that's part of your subscription. And it's 3 modules that will really help you get up and running as fast as possible in this niche. Fast track will get you ahead of 99% of agents in the country as far as probate goes. What we call probate mastery, the advanced training, comes with a certified probate expert designation. And that's something that right now I'm doing once a month in a group format, because that's how I can get the most value for everybody. It's an interactive training that we do as a group, and that comes with the certification. What we find is folks who do want to step up to the advanced training, we find that they are almost 3 times more likely to be with us 12 months later if they have taken that training. But we realize not everybody wants that much training, so we have broken that out. You don't have to do that much. We offer a weekly mastermind call where it's actually growing so quickly that we're sometimes going between 30 minutes and an hour. But we have a couple of years worth of archive calls where agents and brokers from around the country come together and truly mastermind, like truly share what's working, what's not, what are you guys seeing, what should I do here? And I couldn't imagine when we first started this what a great community this would be. And this is one of my favorite parts of this business, is that we have literally hundreds of agents around the country that will show up week in and week out and help each other. Like even our veteran agents will come back and help people who are just getting started, and it just couldn't be a better community. And with that, we also have a Facebook community with I think around 900 folks in it now. And then we do a monthly probate role play call. So the first Monday of every month, we offer a free role play call that I will put myself in the hot seat, and you guys can throw anything you would like at me, and hopefully I can help everybody with my response. And as I said, we've got the Facebook community where a lot of folks are actively helping each other in there as well. So I will open it for question and answer right now. Let me jump in the question box and see what we've got. Craig or Seth, feel free to jump in here. We do have 2 questions.
Wonderful. So let's answer those questions, and then we can wrap it up unless any more come in while we're going through those.
Okay. So Connie asked, how do we offer advice and not be a probate attorney? Great question. So, there's always that line that we want to make sure we don't cross as real estate professionals. And, there's a difference in being really knowledgeable about the process and trying to offer advice on the process. And that's what we suggest, is you be really knowledgeable and understand what they're going through so you can maybe help just take some of the stress away from it. So we don't ever say, offer legal advice to these folks. It's more, offering them support through that process. They do have in most cases, they will have a probate attorney, or they can go directly to the court or the probate clerk and get any technical or legal questions answered. So you're not going to be put in that position. This is more about, helping them through the logistics and the emotions of settling this, and really about helping connect them with people who can make this a lot easier. Jerry asked, how many days apart do you say to space the letters? So Jerry, we recommend at least a minimum of 3 letters, and we space them 30 days between each. So that gives us at least a quarter of marketing for each list. And of course, Melinda asked for the cost. Guys, there are so many counties in the United States that our pricing is not, there's no consistency in our pricing. So I'm going to give you 3 different ways that you can look up the lead count and the cost in your county. Because we do have a lot of folks on the webinar, we'll try to get back to everybody today, but you can fill out the form and get your cost and counts. You can do that by looking at our listing in the Exit Marketplace. You can go to alltheleads.com/exit, or you can call my partner Jim at the number on the screen right now. And either of those 3 ways, we'll do our best to get back to everybody today with your lead counts and pricing for your county or counties. And I will say that we do have a limit. We limit each county to 3 subscribers. We've been overwhelmed with the response since Friday with exit agents and brokers. We've had over 50 people request counties, and I think at last count we had at least 13 new counties as of yesterday. So we couldn't be happier with how excited you guys are about this. If it's something you're really interested in, pick one of these 3 ways and try to talk with Jim today about your counts and cost. Jonathan asked, are your phone numbers vetted against the do not call list? Currently, they are not. We are in the process of adding that as part of our system. So before we give the phone numbers to you, we will scrub them against DNC. I think the timeline on that is probably inside of 90 days, Jonathan. But for right now, they are not. Connie says, how much in caps? Connie, I just gave you a few ways to find out. Same for you, Don.
Wonderful. Well, if that wraps up our question.
Don asked, if I just want to get the leads and send the letters and call them, do I really have to build that team? I want to get that rolling immediately. So, Don, I kind of disclaimered that when I was going through the team members. It's not something, it may seem overwhelming on a webinar screen. Like I said, if you had 3 listing agreements on your desk today, you would get it done before the end of business, and you would be hyped about it. So you don't have to go build a team before you start marketing, but it's not something that's really hard to do. And when you go through our fast track training, it's a total of 38 minutes for the fast track training. You'll have a really good understanding of what it takes to get this rolling and very quickly. And that's, my whole intent with fast track training is to, in a day or less, have you operating at a level of confidence above and beyond any agent in your marketplace. So you don't have to have your team built before you start, but it's very, very helpful if you can offer those options, because it really differentiates you from your competition. And that's the difference in getting the conversation started and not. Warren asked, how do I start the training? How long is the training process, and does my training have a deadline? I'm assuming you're asking about probate mastery. And Warren, the classes, I do it once a month, and we do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 2 p.m., and I leave a block open until 4 p.m. So depending on how interactive the group is, like in January we ran almost 7 hours, in February it was more like 5 hours. But just plan on, 1 week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and all the sessions are video recorded, and I send out the recaps immediately following the session. So in a week or less. Reginald asked, will Jim let us know how to become a member or participant? And yes, he will. So Jim will kind of walk you through, again, all the things. I've thrown a lot at you guys. I realize I'm trying to rush through, but he'll kind of walk you through the benefits and help you understand what it means to be a subscriber. And I will say, guys, we don't have contracts. We, me and my partners, we've always believed since the beginning, if we're providing value and doing what we promised, we don't need to ask somebody to sign a contract. And that holds us accountable to always be improving and doing a better job, and we're pretty proud of that. So we do set up recurring billing because we hire researchers on, to gather your market. But if you ever want to cancel, you can simply let us know. We're not trying to lock you into a contract. And Jim will explain a lot of that too. Connie asked, is the CPE certification NAR approved? And it is not, Connie. I have spoken with NAR about it when I was in Orlando, and they were excited to talk about it. And frankly, with the other things that we are working on, I just haven't had time to go through all the motions yet to have the certification NAR accredited. Isabel asked, do we have model letters? Yes, we do. So we have, in our subscriber area, you'll be able to use an online editor or download them in Word format. We have probably around a dozen letters that have been proven and have made literally millions of dollars in GCI over the last couple of years.
All right.
Great question. So Don asked, such a good question, Don, how many months should I expect this to take to start showing results, and will someone help me with my mailings? I'll answer the second part first. We can help you set up your mailings, and we can even automate your mailings. So the second your leads come in, your mail automatically goes out, and when you see a copy in your own mailbox, you'll know it's time to make phone calls. So we can make a mail that easy, and our pricing is probably, I don't know that you can beat our pricing on using any other mail service. We got into the mail business by necessity because we wanted that level of control and service for our clients. As far as how many months should you expect to see a return, the cash conversion cycle is inside of 90 days for most agents. And we certainly have, we had a girl who had her license for 18 days. She bought historical leads, meaning, it was the last few months. And she actually listed 5 houses by sending her first letter to 175 people. And then she made the phone calls and listed 2 more. That's kind of one end of the extreme. That's an extreme end of the spectrum, but we have had folks that have done, a half a dozen listings in their first week, and we've had folks that it's taken them a couple of months to even get the first phone call, but now they're up on pace to, they're doing six or so deals a month. And if you listen to some of our mastermind calls, a lot of those folks show up there. And if you look at, actually, if you go to alltheleads.com and look under blog, there's a case study there. There's a gentleman named Bud Thompson who subscribed to our system, but then decided not to use the system, and after almost a year admits that now he's using the system and now he's successful. So if you follow the system, it's designed to get you there as quickly as possible. Depending on how competitive your market is usually the difference between whether you catch traction immediately or it may take some time. But great question. All right, we've got an empty queue, Seth.
Wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning. I hope you found this insightful, interesting, and I definitely recommend taking advantage of one of the 3 options on the screen to reach out to the good folks at All the Leads, find out more, any additional questions that you have. They will be more than happy to answer for you. And just another opportunity for you to take your business to the next level if you feel like this is something you could really dive into and become an expert in. So thank you again for joining us. We have recorded this webinar, so we will make it available after the call. And please feel free to reach out to either Chad and his team at any of the 3 options or myself, and we're happy to answer more questions. Have a wonderful afternoon and rest of the week, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.